Hello and welcome to Noobifier Competition. We just had a video where I spoke about what was going to go on MTS Sim 1, and that is a Monster Tech sim base. There are two of them going in. One of them is going to be fully focused on car for esports. So that's your wheel, your pedals, and all that stuff. That video was actually pretty well received considering the size of the channel. There was some good interaction in it. And just so you know, if I was trying to grow the channel, let's say to a partner level, I need 4,000 hours of view time. So even if you get bored halfway through this video and you decide that you want to do something else, I'd appreciate it if you just let it run out. And that goes the same for all the other ones. Anyways, you may have noticed that the audio in here is pretty rough. It's pretty echoey. So this is foam. That's the kind of foam that's going to go on the wall. I contacted AeroZoom and they were gracious. And they said, yes, we'd love to partially sponsor the room. So we're going to get wall treatment in here. It's going to sound better and it's going to be good for everyone, and expect a video on that. So what we're going to do today is address a community concern that we had from the last video, which was, can you show us what's going to be happening on the second sim rig, which is for flight and DCS, flight specifically being Star Citizen. So with that, you can imagine it's going to have a monitor and VR because DCS is VR and Star Citizen is not supporting that. I want it to be so that I don't have to change anything out. It's going to be fully kitted out at once. Effectively, I have tested VKB and Virpil extensively in the past. It just so happens that I have Virpil. I actually think that both companies offer great quality. It's just I work more with Virpil. So don't think that this is like a commercial or it's not meant to be. Anyways, history. I started out with a Thrustmaster Warthog HOTAS as my first foray into sticks and controllers. What ended up happening is you went to the double, so the left and right, and that was a good video. And then when Virpil launched, they searched double joystick and they found that video. So they decided to reach out to me, a content creator who had almost no content and almost no community. So it was very unusual to me. And of course I jumped on this. It was super exciting. They said, we would like to send you a prototype version of MT50, which is their left and right joystick. No Z axis. But that didn't bother me at all because it was obviously exciting to work with a new company on a new product and all of that. So MT50 with community feedback, it was very well received. Even the flight sim guys didn't mind it because you could buy just the right stick and use a throttle and get what they need. That launched with a discontinued gimbal that we don't have anymore. And then they came out with Delta. Delta changed everything because it had Z axis. It had a mini stick, it had a mouse wheel, it was ambidextrous, it was a space sim grip, right? Like an airplane or a flight sim pilot shouldn't even bother to look at this because it didn't appeal to anybody. But we got that, and that was the standard for, I think, 2 years. And then they came out with Alpha Grip. The Alpha Grip is the next evolution. They went to a non-ambidextrous, but they added buttons. They set everything to 11. It has mini stick, it has the same, everything that you would want out of the Delta, but just more. There's a double, triple stage trigger, park brake, everything is just very, very good. Plus they added better RGB for those people that give a shit. Anyways, the Delta was launched on Warbird gimbal, and then there's this, which is CM2. CM2 and Warbird, I would say, is my choice for flight, just because it has a double cam and it's very, very smooth. Not to say that the CM2 isn't, but the CM2 is designed for more torque. I'll talk about that in a little bit. So my initial kit, left and right, will be Alpha Grips. Now we're going to talk a little bit about how they're going to be employed. Alpha Grip on the Z extension. A lot of streamers and content creators have made videos about this new piece of kit. It's rooted deeply in the DIY community. People made this thing on Thingsverse and it was 3D printed, and a lot of people swear by it. It's good. Whether you swear by it or not is fine. That's not the issue. This is the next evolution in controller, at least for Space Sim. It basically positions everything on an angle, and that gives you a much more natural resting position, better on your wrists and everything, and you do not lose anything. I haven't figured out if that you lose anything because everything's very solid and the motion's the same. It's just in a different axis. If you're in the market for a little bit of crazy, that's not a bad idea. So my left hand will have an Alpha Grip, and then immediately inside we'll have the Virpil Collective and one of these grips, depending on what helicopter I'm on. All this is going to be mounted on Monster Tech. So it's going to be there anyways, and you just push it down and away out of the way, and you can play Star Citizen. And when you want to play, flight sim, helicopter, boom, that's ready immediately. Helicopter needs cyclic. Wow, sorry, that was really loud. Cyclic is going to be utility grip, which is the Warbird grip because it most closely replicates a standard helicopter right hand. And then you've got a CM2 gimbal, which I said I would talk about, plus this extension. This extension and that grip on this puts it into the correct position. And then because you have the notch in the pilot's chair, the Monster Tech pilot's chair, you actually can put that exactly where it needs to be. But you need a lot more torque because this is a much better moment arm. So with that, CM2 gimbal has the ability to preload much more. And that's why I've chosen to use that in the middle. You can see it's on a quick disconnect. When it's not needed, this whole thing gets tucked under the seat. The joystick comes off and you're ready for normal flight. And then when you need it, boom, right away. Now, immediately next to that as well will be a throttle, because if I'm going to be doing F-18, F-16, A-10, you're going to have joystick, throttle, and collective all on the left side. Cyclic in the middle. And then on the right side, it's going to be the other alpha on the other angle plus panels. Plan is also to put panels in the middle, but again, I don't have MTS yet, so I don't know quite what that's going to look like. So let's talk a little bit about panels. You have the basic panel that comes on the throttle, which is very good. You've got your flaps, a bunch of RGB individually addressable buttons. You've got all of the single toggles. You've got some momentary rotaries, encoders. Then the same thing on the original CM2 throttle. This is CM3 with the gates, the detents. But the functionality of both of them is pretty similar, except that this one I think has a slightly different angle because it's higher than that one. Button box 1, panel 1, fantastic if all you want to do is add a bunch of everything. It's very, very good. It's useful for a wide range of stuff. Panel 2 is more focused on airplane specifically. So you've got your landing gear, and it can do both Russian style where there's a middle off, and then you can do kind of the American style where it's just on or off, like that you just put it into one of two positions, up or down. That can be done internally. But then you have even more rotary encoders and more double positions. And then again, bomb-proof, crazy covered, emergency ones. Now we're starting to get into panel 3. This to me is the most, I did a video on this. And if you haven't seen it, you should go check it out. This one here, I said that it effectively replaces throttle. Like if you don't have anything, start with this is my recommendation. Because what you have is effectively, you could do throttle, right? For a small airplane, a double, I don't know, or you can go up to like 767 where you've got multi-engine and then you still have your flaps and your other thing. Now, if you had the more money and you really wanted to do more, then you could still do this, which is a throttle quadrant, and then use this for Star Citizen. You could have your power target, acceleration target, and then mining laser power and some other thing for another, maybe zoom for combat. I don't know. Set it, forget it. Maybe you always want to be running at 20% zoom. This is very specific though to helicopter. So it is labeled completely with like API and laser, head mounted sighting system. So this is very helicopter centric, but my plan is still to go and just use this all for Star Citizen. The nice thing is Red Lear did a bunch of nice joystick gremlin binding series. They're extremely detailed, and effectively you could have profiles for every game, or you could set the profile in the game. My plan is to take, for example, DCS, open it up and just set it to whatever makes the most sense for me. And I might be doing a video on that. Those to me are very, very personal, right? The configuration of your buttons, like where everything is, from a perspective of just giving you ideas, that's a great idea. But for me to say that you must put this button in this thing, that doesn't make any sense to me. So we'll talk about pedals next. So pedals, I normally don't run pedals in Star Citizen, mainly because I've always stood up and it's just not possible. It's not physically possible. But MTS SimRig number 2 is going to be set up for flight. And because of that, it will have pedals attached to it. Monster Tech is including with it a quick change module. So you'll be able to switch out very, very fast just by releasing something. And then these would be attached to a plate and those would be attached to a plate. You could just flip flop between the two. So do I think that you need to change the actual geometry of the pedal just because you're flying helicopter or plane? No, I think that totally reasonable to buy and choose one set of pedals and love them and then just use them for all games. I don't think you need to get that specific. But these do offer very similar quality level, completely different implementation, completely different product, but they are both extremely accurate, extremely durable, and all that other stuff. So it's actually very difficult for me to review or compare them because I love both for the same reasons, I guess. The one thing that version 3, so version 3 is this one here from MFG, is this gas shock. The gas shock actually adds this really cool quality damper effect. It really increases the level of quality feel. And then what it also does is it prevents this kind of motion, right? But I did find when I was playing with helicopter, I did still like Virpil Ace simply because you're always flying constantly with an offset. And you can see I have a very, very light spring on there. And no matter what I do with this is just personal. This is really nitpicky. The gas shock, even if I turn it almost off, will always give me a different feeling in helicopter. I'm not a helicopter pilot. I don't know. There's probably a lot more resistance. It's just for me. I don't know. It's ergonomics. Expect a review on this very soon because once I get MTS set up, I'll be able to, like, I've basically been parking this for that. There's this and then the Virpil Ace. And then again, different footrests, different angles and everything. It's all very, very customizable. These ones actually go nearly vertical, which is ridiculous because you never need that. But it's nice to have that feature if that's something that you're looking for. And then, of course, they 3D print their own PETG kicks. And it's just, again, customizable. Very, very good. This is serial number 12,491, which tells you how many people out there have this. Almost none of them are complaining. And it's very similar about that. I know that there have been a couple of people that have been complaining that the springs break on the toe brake specifically on this. I don't know what to tell you about that. To me, it's a quality control issue with maybe the spring manufacturer, not necessarily Virpil. Anyways, so along with all of this, of course, you have your voice attack. You have Toby, you have Track IR, you have Game Glass, no brainer. And what I really need to do is get the sim rig here and kind of piece it together like a piece of Lego to see what makes the most sense where. When I do that, I'll probably log it and then I'll do obviously a very detailed overview of where everything is and why I've selected it there to potentially give you a better insight on what you can do with your own MTS, almost like a parts list so that you know what you do and don't need the first time so you don't end up with that second call to Oliver saying, Oliver, I forgot this, or this doesn't work because I hadn't anticipated that and that. That's the whole point. That's the whole aim of what I'm trying to do. And of course, MTS1, Noobifier Competition, that's where all of the magic's going to be happening live on the new channel. And then MTS2, fantastic because you're going to end up with all of the Star Citizen content. I plan to do DCS, I plan to do VR, anything that comes out, any of these new games. I know that Star Citizen has a bunch of competitors coming out this year. I think that people are saying maybe not this year, but like very soon, maybe they're going to go to alpha or beta. I would love to test those and just give you my opinion of what they are. Just be part of the community. You can see there's a lot of stuff going on there. I'll quickly run it down. So you got left and right hands for Star Citizen is going to be alphas on Warbird grips. Then there's going to be a throttle on the left side. There's going to be a collective on the left side. In the middle, CM2 gimbal with Warbird grip. On the right-hand side, a bunch of panels. In the middle, a bunch of panels. Game Glass, some Toby. It's just going to be crazy, but it's all going to fit into one perfect thing that never needs to be adjusted. So again, thanks very much. There's been a lot of very, very good traffic on the new channel. Well, we're over the 1,000 mark for subscribers, which we need. We need 4,000 hours of watch time, and we're at about 180. So if any of you guys want to sit there and just watch videos, I would love that, right? Because that just clocks in the hours. Thanks very much for spending your time with me, and fly safe. See you in the verse.